In this movie, we're going to have a look at another feature that allows you to quickly and easily recolor artwork. Now, I used the Live Paint bucket tool to paint this character, which allows me to paint open and closed shapes really easily. And you can see it's a live paint object still because of these bounding boxes here. This is indicating that this is a live paint object. Now, we could just continue to paint it using recolor artwork and keep it as a live paint object. But once I've finished painting, I usually expand it, and that converts the live paint groups into individual paths that I can then control a little bit more easily. So we'll expand it first of all. And now it's just a regular set of paths, so I can go in and make selections and colour things as I need them, which makes it easier to do things like go and fix this problem with the eye here. I could just choose paint behind and go in there and paint it white if I want to. Anyway, we're going to leave that for now. We're not going to do any problem solving for now. We're just going to recolour the artwork. Now, I might decide that the whole piece of artwork is a little bright and I want to bring the colour down a little bit. Or I may want to give it a complete reworking in terms of colour. Now, selecting individual items and having to go and change the colours individually can be a bit of a pain. So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is click on Recolor Artwork. Now, before I do it, I'm going to hide my selection because I've got quite complex paths here. So Command H lets me do that, or Control H on Windows. Once you've done that, click on Recolor Artwork, and that will open up this dialog box. This used to be known as Cooler, this feature, but it's now known as Recolor Artwork. Now I can assign new colours in here. I can just double click and choose new colours and assign them to my artwork if I want to. So I'm just changing the purple colour of the gradient. So let's change it to something that works a little better. Let's choose a really deep red. So we'll choose a much, much darker red than we had originally. And that just enriches the reds a little bit. I could also change the highlight colour, so we could choose something slightly more orange for the highlight colour. And you can quite clearly see that that's lightening up those colours there. Now I have options as well about whether to choose an exact colour. If I was using tints, I could choose to preserve tints or scale tints as well. So I have lots of options within there. And of course I can preserve spot colours if that is important. Now I also have controls down here for hue, saturation and brightness. Now if I scroll down and we choose the blue colours, so if I select this one, notice that I could just darken down that blue by using the sliders here. Now you can choose between RGB, HSB, CMYK, WebRGB and Lab Color. And you can also have a global adjust setting, which will globally adjust, say, the saturation, for example. So if I just want to desaturate my artwork, I can pull the saturation of all the artwork down by the same amount. I love that feature. I could always brighten it up a bit as well, or darken it down. Okay, it's just so great to have these controls that allow me just to make very, very quick changes to the colour of my artwork. So as well as that, we can apply swatches. So I could say, right, I'm not sure about the colours I've chosen, so I'm going to choose one of the swatch libraries, say the Kids Stuff swatch library, and apply it to my artwork. And I instantly get a much more cartoony look by applying the Kids Stuff colour swatches to my artwork. Now there are lots of other options in here. You can create new rows of colour. You can randomly change the colour order. I'm not going to do that here, but if you want to do that, you can try it out. You can randomly change saturation and brightness. So if you're not sure about choosing colours and you just want the software to suggest a few ideas, these are good options. And you can also click on the colours above with this button to find them in the artwork. So if I click on the colours, it will show me where those colours exist in the artwork. So another handy little tool there. Now, you can also load and save presets. So you can choose one of these presets or save your own preset. And also you can edit the colour sets as well. Incidentally, we also have options to automatically save colour sets here. At the moment, it's automatically choosing colours, but you could limit yourself to how many colours you want to use by using this menu. So it controls how many colours will appear in the recoloured artwork. So I'm keeping it as the amount of colours that I started with, but I could limit it to 4 or 5 colours if I wanted to. So what about when I want to actually edit the artwork? Well, then I go into edit mode, and this is amazing. It's basically showing me a colour wheel and how the colours are situated on that colour wheel. And I can make changes to this. So it's showing me saturation and hue on the wheel, but I can change it to show brightness, hue and saturation on the wheel as well. And there's various different options for how it's displayed. We could have a smooth colour wheel, a segmented colour wheel, or display colour bars. I quite like the segmented colour wheel because it gives me a good idea of what I'm working with. Now, because we're using the Kids Stuff palette, we're limited to a colour palette here. So if I go back to my Assign settings and I just come down here and just choose None for my colour palette, it will go back to my original settings. And now when I go into Edit and choose Smooth Colour, you'll notice that I can choose from any of the available colours now. And now you'll see we jump between these two options here for showing saturation and hue or just brightness and hue. So I tend to use saturation and hue a lot. And if I want to lighten up that colour or maybe make it slightly more pink, I can just drag it round here. And you'll notice my artwork updating as I do. So for experimenting and trying out different colour combinations, this really is fantastic. I could say, well, what's it going to look like if she has a green top instead of a blue top? And I can try that out by dragging these around. Now, the other thing that I can do that is really useful is I can link the colours together and then drag them around as a group. So I can see what just shifting the colours does to my artwork. Now that's not going to work very well with the skin tones, but I can always select everything but the skin tones and just try out a colour twist, which is what I call it. Not the official name, but I call it the colour twist. You can also add and remove colour tools to your selection as well. Now we also have the ability to apply colour swatches in here as well. And we also have controls over things like saturation, brightness, etc. So again, if I want to saturate it more or less, you'll notice the slider is showing me basically what that's doing to my selected colours. And again, we can do a global adjust, or we can adjust things individually, depending on which we prefer to do. So it really is a fantastic tool, this, for assigning colours to your artwork. Now, on top of all that, it also has harmony rules. So if I want to figure out a monochromatic colour scheme, I can just choose a monochromatic colour scheme and then try different monochromatic combinations to see what works. Or I could decide I don't want monochromatic, I want to try, let's try a compound 2 colour system. And again, moving it round back towards the skin tones. Okay, not particularly what I want, but we get the idea. And of course I can toggle this on and off to see if I like the results or not. So I'm going to go back to my kids stuff because I really like that, and I'm going to try and drag it back to where it should be, which I think is, well, where is it? See, it's not that easy to find again once we've lost it. I think it's round about here. And we're just going to make some slight adjustments there. So we're going to desaturate it a little bit, making sure that I have Global Adjust switched on. So we'll select Global Adjust, desaturate it. Now, you'll notice that things go a little bit haywire once you select a swatch group, and that's because it can only choose colours from the swatch group. So once you're close to what you want, sometimes it's good to go back to None, and that just allows you to tweak the colours individually. So it can be a little confusing at times. The one thing that I miss, and as far as I'm aware, it's not easy to undo any of these changes. If anyone out there knows how to undo within the Recolor Artwork dialog box, I would love to know, because I've never been able to find a way of undoing, which is a shame. But when you consider all the controls that are in here for you and how easy it is to use them, it's such a fantastic tool that I kind of forgive it that. So have a play with the Recolor Artwork tool. It really is a fantastic tool. I just love it, and I could sit here playing around with these colours for ages. Anyway, have a play and enjoy.